Hi, my name's Justin Johnson,
And I'm Josiah Stowe.
and we are Dominion Wealth Strategists. We are created to put money in the hands of those that are sitting in the pews.
From budgeting to estate planning, savings accounts, retirement planning, life insurance, and a heck of a lot more here at Dominion.
That means that you are leaving an inheritance that passes multiple generations because that is the legacy. It's part of our mission.
All of Christ for all of life.
And all of finance for Christendom.
How long have you been at Christ the Word?
I've been there, it was 4 years in April.
Okay.
So I'm newer compared to some of the people.
Well, and so I left Bloomington before you got there.
Okay.
So I left in the summer of 2020 to go plant, but I had been on staff at that church since 2007.
Oh, wow. Which is, it's funny because I've heard the name. I know Warhorn, obviously. Met Tim. Actually, I knew Tim before I started going to that. Well, I didn't say no, but friends with him online.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of crazy because my journey was just trying to find a good Reformed church.
Yeah.
You know, part of my story is...
So you're just in Toledo, or?
I'm in Monroe County, Temperance, Michigan, about 3 miles north of Toledo.
Okay.
So it's about 20, 25 minutes to get to Christ the Word.
You're part of the crew that comes in from Michigan into that.
Yeah, we got a crew that comes in from Michigan. But
they've been talking forever about planting a church up, you know.
It's funny. You see, I'm a real estate broker by trade, and there was a little Presbyterian church in Erie, Michigan, just gorgeous, built in 1857. One of the 12 members that are left, she's in her 80s. Her great-grandfather built it, just the history. And I sent it to Nathan, who's now our lead pastor, David's son. I said, you got a plant? I mean,
we got it, man. Like,
I love those old little, it's all wood.
We make something happen right here.
You know, nice little 100, 150
You got a big church.
person.
What, the church is like 700 people?
Yeah, we're about like at 750, and we're talking about second service, and I can say this publicly.
I love that you can fit everybody into that sanctuary.
Well, we're talking two services now possibly, and I go, man, it's just a different church when you go to multi-service.
Yep.
I've been to those. I was at a church for 3 years, and I saw a guy in the grocery store, and he introduced me to his friend. He said, we go to church together. I go, you don't go to that church. He goes, yeah, the 11 a.m. I go to the 9 a.m. So for 3 years, we didn't even know we went to the same church.
You had no idea
right?
you went to the same church. Yeah.
And then you go to like my church, Christ the Word, where very hospitable is from the top down. It's like you know everyone's name. You're in their house. You're inviting them to dinner. You're at multiple things a week with them.
Yeah.
It's been a little harder as the church grows to 750, but still I would say I've never been to a church that has that focus on hospitality, discipleship.
In that level of size. At that
size, too.
Yeah. It's
but
really challenging to.
Yeah. So, Nathan, I complain to him all the time.
That's a slow growth. That's a slow growth thing, though, right? Like that church was born out of a split from a Brethren church.
Yep.
But it was a slow growth model from the beginning. Yeah. You know, it's David's life's work investing in that church, and building the culture from the ground up.
Yeah.
And you can get to 750 fast, but you cannot get that culture fast. You cannot import that culture. You cannot impose it. You have to build it from the ground up.
So that's what I like to, and I don't want to sit here and talk about our church the whole time, but also I went there and it was funny because the first week I attended, I went.
Are we recording?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We're good.
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I said, man, I got 3 kids. I looked around and go, am I even Reformed? I mean, our average family is probably 6, 7 kids.
Why do you have such a small family, man?
Exactly, right. But, new baby born every 11 days on average in the last 3 years in our church, very young church.
Just stop and think about that. A new baby born every 11 days on average.
Yeah.
Once every 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks.
Week and a half.
I think it's actually lower now. I think they just looked at it was like 9 days. Okay. I mean, there's multiple women pregnant,
That's nuts.
at all times.
That's nuts.
But what my point is also like you said.
We got one family in our church that pumps out one every 9 or 10 days. But
but that hospitality is generational. So these kids have grown up in that church, and it's just part of the culture.
Right, and they're building on it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's even more natural to them. Like their parents had to figure it out, maybe. But these kids, that's what they grew up with.
So you as a pastor, too, and as a church planner, that's an interesting question, and maybe we'll go in this direction. Sure. What are some of the core things that you look for in a church identity when you're planting, or you're going, if I had the perfect church, all right, no one ever does, what are you looking for? Are you looking...
So that's a really tough question for me to answer. I had no idea what I was doing when I went to plant.
Okay.
There was no roadmap. There was no big plan. What I knew is I wanted to be home with my people.
Sure.
And I wanted to build something like the culture that we had at the church in Bloomington. what I knew was what I couldn't do is try to export a 30-year-old culture.
Yeah.
That was built largely by a very larger than life dominant personality that's very different than mine.
Okay.
You know, Tim's a special guy, and he has this very special array of gifts. And every church takes
the identity.
It's formed by the identity of its leadership, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so it's like, okay, well, what are the core things that we want to do? Well, we want to be real. We want to be real about God and about sin and about life.
Yeah.
We want to connect people and build relationships and build a family and build a culture that's multi-generational.
Yeah.
We want to be always calling people to action, always calling people to a next step, never leaving them stagnant, but giving them practical ways to grow, take baby steps towards godliness and sanctification. We want a church. If we're taking people from, you know, what we don't want to do is just like cherry pick, hey, look, we're the Reformed Presbyterian church in town, and there hasn't been one.
Right.
So just here we are, we're planting our flag, come flock to us, right? What we want to do is
flavor,
we want to see the lost come to know Jesus. We want to see people coming from broken and difficult places, and we want to move them towards Jesus and help them, you know, whether they're the third or fourth link in a chain or the first one. We want to see them create something their kids can build on. Yeah. Which is why, you know, one of the things I said in my message yesterday is, I say this to our church all the time. You have, and I think Michael or somebody, so the internet gives you this sort of myth that you can just sort of like skip the process. You can jump to like perfection or something like that and just be like Instagram pretty, you know, and have your family all together. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So what I say all the time is just focus on one thing. The best thing you can give your kids is a trajectory of growth and godliness. Yeah. And so you establish the pattern of repentance and growth and constant improvement, and you repent, you apologize to your kids, you make corrections, and then hopefully what they see is, hey, you know, mom and dad didn't get everything right, but they loved us and they were moving towards Jesus, and I can build on that. And so, you know, we see it as a multi-generational project, right? We're trying to lay the foundation for a church culture that our grandkids will inherit, and be much stronger than we're capable of being. Yeah. And so those are sort of like core principles for us, and it has to take the shape and flavor of our community. Bloomington is a really unique community. It's 50% university, and it's 50% just like rural blue collar Indiana. Okay. But that 50% university is very dominant, and so it has the highest per capita rate of homosexuality, top 5 or something like that in the country. It's called the gay mecca of the Midwest. It's just like crazy progressive. So you have that, and that's like they have the hold on all the institutional power, political power in the city.
Kind of right there in a more rural area in the outer.
Right. So you've got this like,
so it's a weird dynamic.
Yeah. Probably. So you've got this like, and then there's tons of friction, right? It's explosive. It can be very explosive. It's why when we had Doug come, you know, we had the big explosion that we had on campus. Sure. Right. So, it's a very explosive type of environment. And so you've got, Red America, Trump flags and all of that, you know, and pickup trucks. And then you've got like Jettas and Priuses and everything else. And very hipster and great food and great music and great, you know,
people accidentally flying the Noahic Covenant.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
they don't even know what they
don't even know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Remember the time God judged us for the things we're doing now?
Yeah, that's
and He promised not to destroy us.
As a sign of His mercy, you better turn from His wrath. Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah. No. But
Evansville's a very different place.
Right.
And so, it's actually much.
Because that's where you're at now.
That's where I'm at now.
Okay. And how's Evansville different?
It's much more like Toledo.
Okay.
It's actually much more like Cincinnati. So we're Rivertown, and I think that Rivertown culture's tend to be more downstream of each other than, like
no pun intended, but
yeah, absolutely. Maybe pun intended. Because culturally, industry moves downriver and is shaped by the river in a way that if you're just like, pick a spot in the middle of Ohio or pick a spot in the middle of Indiana, you're talking farm country and stuff like that, right? It's a very different culture. We have industry that's built on the river. We have Alcoa and aluminum. We have very global plastics. We have that sort of thing. So I think, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Louisville, Evansville all have more in common as you go down the river than we would with, Martinsville, Indiana or something like that.
Right. Yeah, they definitely have a unique feel. I've always, as a realtor too, and someone who works in land and stuff, it's just always funny to me how hundreds of years later, you can see how a town or a city takes on the shape of its geographical location,
right.
And how certain kind of characteristics find themselves, mountains, rivers, Great Lakes, flatlands, like they take on the characteristic. It's like you can't, like you can see the fingerprint of God even in the geography of how people kind of live, and they're affected by the geographical location. I think it's a very good point that you make too earlier. You can't really take what you think the church should be and then put it in it and then impose it on a geographical location or what those people are. I don't think that's going to be too successful. You kind of need to know the area, right?
You have to build it from the ground up with the people that you've got and the gifts that God's given you, and then you have to have the principles that you want, that are biblical and godly, and that you want to shape the church. Yeah. But it has to take on its own character and its own flavor, and that has to be developed over time with the plurality of elders and leadership that God gives you as well. Yeah. And that's going to shape things too. And you have to be open to that. You cannot just like cookie cutter it. Which is something that I understood, at least philosophically headed in.
But pragmatically it was probably a little different.
And it's just like adjustment. And, it's very Roman Catholic, very German Catholic.
Oh, really?
And so we've even had to, we've brought our liturgy down really far, much farther than I think a lot of Presbyterians would be comfortable with. But we're trying not to signal Roman Catholic,
right?
We're trying to counter signal Roman Catholic because that's a big we're up against Roman Catholicism.
That's interesting. So even like kind of the external appearance, you have to kind of be worried about for the either unbeliever or new believer that's at the church, because they might associate in a certain way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a lot of people, I mean, the majority of people I meet that have a bad taste in their mouth with religion were like, well, I was raised Catholic.
Yeah.
And we're not making a podcast hammering on the Catholics, although I've done that in the past and we have many disagreements. But that seems to be a lot of church hurt too, is just the legalism, the religious part of Catholicism. And I didn't really think about that, but even liturgy could be something you need to kind of tweak, which I think we have that freedom.
We have a very classic Reformed liturgy in the bones of it.
Sure.
But how we frame it, we bring it down in how we frame it.
Let me ask you this, because we were sitting at a dinner kind of gathering last night, and I was talking to someone else. You were talking to our mutual friend Keith Foskey. And I heard Indianapolis, Doug Wilson, and then Tim. And I went, wait a minute. Those three things in my brain mean something. And then I realized, and then I went, wait, you're the guy.
Should I know you?
Should I know you? Because, Tim Bailey, and obviously my pastor, his brother, and nephew, and then Warhorn Media, which we sing some of the songs that you've been credited on. And we talked about that a little bit. Yeah. And I wanted to bring that up because I got to go, what's this insatiable appetite for just building things? It seems like you have that. Like I'm kind of a little bit like that, right? Sometimes I have to hold that back because I'll go to my wife and go, I got this new great idea. You get all excited. Yeah. She goes, pump the brakes. You've got 3 or 4 good things going on. I don't know if we need to jump into that. Yeah. But you seem like the kind of guy to where you're just constantly building things or doing things. Where does that come from? And has that helped you as a pastor? Has it hindered you? Do you have anything on the horizon? I'm always interested to talk to people who build stuff and then can move on and build something else. because it takes a lot of resilience. It kind of takes like intestinal fortitude. You got to have thick skin when you're building things. People are going to tell you no, yes, not do things right. Sometimes you can get distracted by your own excitement on jumping to the next thing when this one isn't completed. Am I talking your language? Or
Absolutely,
am I kind of
yeah.
okay?
So, my start was building a campus ministry.
Okay.
So that was like I had come out, I'd become a Christian, like going into my senior year of high school.
Okay.
Started a Bible study. We had a whole school corporation worship night that I put on for the Evansville Vandenberg School Corporation with some friends. We had a dude who was in a school shooting in Paducah come up, and I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I was teaching. I had no idea what was going on. But I was just like,
you had the zeal though.
I had the zeal, right? And I had nobody like guiding or pointing it in a direction.
Okay.
And so I went up to Bloomington and I got involved in campus ministry and stuff like that. But really what I had come to see is the need for college students, especially, to be connected to the local church. And I had been burned and burned out. I studied religious studies, which was a horrible thing to do, but I didn't know any better. I was just like, I'll see what the pagans have to teach me, and maybe I'll have more opportunity. We were to talk about God, so I'll have opportunities to talk to people about Jesus,
Seems reasonable.
But man, it was a mess, and I was burned out, and I got connected to, there was a man with cerebral palsy named Bob Kaplowitz, Jewish believer. He had a house, and guys from the church, it was called Church of the Good Shepherd at the time, lived there, and I was friends with some of them, and rubbed shoulders with some of them. Like I'd, done some abortion ministry type things, and so I was sort of connected.
Okay.
And they invited me to come and live at the house, and it was all part of a scheme to get me to come to church there. And so they scheduled me. There was a Wednesday morning Bible study with Tim, and so they scheduled me on Bob shift that morning, so I had to get up and go to 6:30 a.m. Bible study, or 6 a.m. or whatever it was, and it was 1 Timothy, I think. And the very first time I went, Tim just was like, "You're a man with a tender conscience, and you have a bad conscience. Do you have a girlfriend?" And I just like went from there, and he's like opens me up, and it's my senior year of college at that point.
Okay.
It's a long story short. Within a year or so of that, I'm married, we're pregnant. I'm starting training for ministry at the pastor's college now called New Geneva Academy.
Okay.
It was a second class. And I'm helping start and launch a campus ministry rooted out of the local church, but really designed to connect college students to the church.
Sure.
Plug them in and integrate them. So it's not just like your Campus Crusade bubble or whatever.
Right.
And so over the course of my training, God blessed that ministry, and it grew. And then the church hired me on, and so I started as the college pastor / campus minister. Built that by God's grace, and it grew and it thrived, and became a pipeline of leaders.
Sure.
I was able to hand that off to one of the guys that came through that ministry, Alex McNeely, great dude. He's pastor here in Cincinnati now.
Oh, interesting.
Worship pastor at Christ Church.
Yeah.
And then, Tim started writing, and I started getting connected to more of the creative people in the church.
Okay.
And just trying to I think a large part of my gifting, especially at that church, was just like seeing how people fit and how they work together and how they can use their gifts. And, Jacob's School of Music, tremendous music school, all these talented musicians. Nathan Alberson is this very creative, talented dude. And so we just started, and Tim's writing a book on fatherhood. And I'm part of a group of guys that was helping him sort of plan and structure that. And we're just trying to consider what to do. And so that's sort of where my part in building and creating Warhorn Media came from.
Right.
And so it was like, well, Tim's got a book, and he wants to write, and he wants to write more, and sort of begin to transition some leadership and focus on that sort of thing. And he had his blog that he had been doing with David. And podcasting was sort of starting to become a thing, and we saw that. wanted to get into that. And as a way to really, the way that I tried to think about it was like, if we can just enhance the discipleship of our church,
Sure,
then maybe we can be a blessing to others as well.
yeah,
And so we started podcasting and things like that, writing a little bit. And then we had these musicians, very talented, and a desire to set psalms to music, and tried a couple of different projects. But then Jody and I, Jody Killingsworth, who was the worship pastor at the time, he's now the head pastor of that church.
yeah.
We started writing together and came up with a scheme to set the psalms to music.
So was that the first time you ever wrote music?
Yeah.
At that age?
Well,
Were you a musician when you were younger?
I picked up the guitar. Actually, so I had been something, like I had dabbled in writing and things like that.
Yeah.
Growing up. When I became a Christian, one of the first things that I did was get a little composition notebook, and I started writing. It's sort of like a prayer journal, but it always came out sort of as sort of like psalms, like poetry.
Sure.
And I had done stuff like that, and I'd always been connected. One of my best, there was a really good friend of, well, this dude I'd bullied and made fun of for being a Christian.
Okay.
When God got a hold of me, I ran into him like putting in a job application at like a hardware store or something like that, and he's this really sweet, shy guy. And for whatever reason, he invited me to go with him to a blues fest that night. It was a totally random thing.
Okay.
Like we laugh about it. He's like, I hated your guts. I don't know why I invited you. It just like came out. But I had just come to, like, it was just a God sort of thing.
Sure.
And we hit it off and we became friends. And he was in a band. And I did write a little bit with them, some, but nothing special.
Okay.
So, but I played guitar, and I had done like some things. Like I had been at a little Baptist church, and I played in the band. And
Sure.
I played in the band. Jody pulled me into the band to play a little bit when he was building it, but I wasn't very good. Just sort of dabbled, you know. And so I was very, I was relieved when I was replaced by better musicians. than
Right.
me. But I had enough musicality and enough, I think, sense of words that.
Okay.
I felt I could write and contribute and just help push things forward. Like I'll just work. I'll write lyrics. I'll do whatever. I'll help make sure we can unstop. You know, if I can give you material to work with, you know, and just help the creative process. And
It's pretty crazy to me how, because I play keyboard and drums and I've written a little bit, but by far probably a better musician than I am writer. And it's always funny, people outside of that bubble who maybe aren't musicians or in that creative space think that playing an instrument and writing can just go hand in hand. The guy who's the lead guitar player in a band, he just writes everything. And it's like there's a big difference between someone who can play an instrument and someone who can really write. There's a gifting in both, and they're very separate. Now, obviously, there's guys who can do both,
well,
right?
and
they're
Jody,
those prodigies.
Jody can.
Where you're like, whoa.
Like he really can. He's a real genius when it comes to both music. He's super creative.
Yeah.
But he's a perfectionist. Like, and it's like
the creative perfectionists are the worst too, because sometimes it'll never get released because it's never good enough. You know, you're like, come on, man.
That's part of it. Like, so it's like part of the, you know, I have a very different working relationship with different types of creative people. So like Nathan and Jody are a perfect contrast. Like Nathan is like, spit it out, iterate, get the bad version out, make it better until it's like, well, it's got to be done, and then let's go, right? And I can do that. Jody's more of the kind of guy that's like, he's waiting for it to just like be right.
Right.
You know,
like we got it. We captured it.
So I learned, like, if I send Jody like an early draft of something and it's not great, he can't be inspired. He will not care. But if I can refine something until it's like it really pops, and give it to him, and then he's like, oh, I love this, then he'll be inspired to do something amazing with it.
So he can take the rest of the whatever.
Then he can take it, or he can be like, man, I've got this really great musical idea, but I am so stuck on getting the words right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I can do that. And so he, the way that we would work is he'd have a great musical idea and he'd have like a hook, he'd have like a verse or a chorus or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, I got this. You go on to the next thing. Cause he's sort of stuck there.
Sure.
And so then I'll write it all out, I'll fill it out. I'll perfect it as best as I'm able. I'll send it back to him and he may make a tweak or two, but then we've got something.
Yeah. That's always a good connection between creatives too. When you have one that can they can kind of push and pull each other to bring it along. Because if you get two guys that are just uber creative, it can really just kind of stall in a place sometimes. I've been part of that, like in bands and things where it's just, we're just going around in a circle here. You kind of, whoever it is needs to kind of move it forward. Let's get to the next stage. Yeah.
Right. And so it's just like these different, we basically had two teams. It's like Phil Moyer, who's also a musical genius and very creative. Yeah. He and Nathan worked together because Nathan's like raw material. And they had more of an iterative relationship. And then I could step into that and I could solve a problem, or I could send something to Nathan that's like, this isn't working. Yeah. And he could, we could have that. And then Jody and I had a very different, working relationship as a team. And so, that's part of my job then is just like facilitate the creative genius of other people.
Sure.
Right.
Well, so that's very important too. And I know we're getting way off on different stuff here, but this is interesting to me. Like part of being a leader and probably why you naturally went into a church plan as well too, is like recognizing where the boundaries are of where you're needed and what you can do, people's particular skills. Sometimes I think people think leadership is just, well, everyone follow me, this is what we're doing because it's a great idea. When in fact, you're kind of massaging like, well, I know when to kind of step back. I know my role in this part. I don't have to be the guy with the spotlight on me.
Up front or
right.
Like that,
I just know that we need to get this moving into the next.
Well, the work of ministry is actually equipping the saints for the work.
There you go, equip.
Right. It's
right,
equipping
and that
them. Right.
Comes
it's like
in
how do we take the gifts that God's given people and maximize their use for His kingdom here now?
Yeah.
And so, how do I help unlock Nathan's creative genius or Jody's creative genius, or just be like, it's there, like they're the guys, like or Tim, right? Like they're the guy, they have really unique special gifts. How do we make that something how do we maximize our ability to serve this church and maybe beyond? And that's all I tried to do with Warhorn, at least in its early stages.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. You've got all this going on. You come out of the campus thing you started. You're at the church. You're doing these creative things, Warhorn Media. For most people, they'd go, I'm in a great location, great church. You could really become settled in that. What then leads you to go, okay, we need to plant?
Well, okay, so it's a couple of things. So I had, God had blessed the college ministry, and I'd handed that off.
Yep.
And that allowed me to focus more on some of the creative stuff. Then there was also, the church was changing in size and composition. We had gone from being a more college-oriented church to, we had like 100 kids 5 and under. And
oh, wow.
And there's a lot of turnover in like youth group leadership. And what I began to do is shift more. I became the discipleship pastor of the church.
Okay.
And really focus on helping build out the discipleship pathways of the church, Wednesday night programs, Sunday school, children's church, hospitality, and stuff like that. And I, again, just trying to work with people who are better than me, but put people in the right places to do the right things so the church could grow and the kids could be discipled. So I got to this place where I felt like I'd done my job.
Okay.
And the church was moving into a time of transition where Tim was talking about retirement. And at the same time, God just began to work in my heart, my wife's heart, about wanting to go home. We never thought we'd go back we thought we were going to be lifers at that church. Never wanted to go back home.
Okay.
But that all began to change. Our kids got to be a little bit older. Wanted to be closer to our parents. Wanted to if possible, build something for our people like what God had given us in Bloomington.
Sure.
And and there was going to be a transition, and it just, like, for all kinds of reasons, it felt like the best thing for us would be to create space.
Okay.
And step away for the health of that church and for us to move on and to start something new. And a lot of people disagreed and didn't think that was the right move, but we were convinced and convicted
Sure.
that was right. And so we did. And
how long ago was that?
So summer of 2020 is when we moved.
Oh, geez, right in the middle of COVID.
So like in February, we announced that we're leaving.
And then they said, "Nah, you can't go anywhere. You got to stay inside."
So we moved just 5 years in July 30th or some 30. I think July 30th was our move, or 31st or something like that. So,
Okay.
We moved back home, started a Bible study in our living room in the middle of COVID, and God blessed that Bible study, and it grew, and we outgrew our living room, and then there was a church, actually our home church, First Southern Baptist Church in Evansville,
Okay.
let us they have a cafeteria area, and we moved our Bible study there, and then we were able to start having services at the YMCA in 2021.
Okay.
And so we've been having services at the YMCA since 2021.
Can I ask you this, and you don't have to answer it if it's too personal, but like when you do a move like that, are you calling ahead and kind of maybe talking to other pastors in the city, or saying that we're coming there, this is our vision, this is what we're thinking of doing, or are you just blindly like going, well, let's go there and start a Bible study in our house and see if it outgrows from there? Or like, what was, you know what I mean?
There's a little bit of both.
I'm just wondering.
So, I mean,
that's a big move. I mean, you're moving the family, you're starting a church.
Yeah, so, you know,
huge thing.
we've got friends there and people there that are
That's
interested
true. It's your
already
hometown,
in the idea of us planning a church.
Okay.
And family there that's interested in that sort of idea. There was a church, so sort of like Reformed Baptist, not capital RB Reformed Baptist, but
Okay.
and they were
I've
like,
never heard that, but that makes sense. Not capital RB, but yeah.
well,
I get what you're saying.
it's a different flavor, right?
Yeah.
This is more MacArthurite church.
Okay.
Right, and they had grown. They were like at 400 people or something like that, and they were considering splitting and planting or taking that next step.
Okay.
And so I was encouraged by some friends at that church. I pushed a lot of my friends to be a part of that church, and so I was encouraged to apply and see if they would be interested in, you know, planting with me or bringing me on staff there. It was never going to work. This is way too MacArthurite, like dispensational in the like.
Yeah.
In order to be an elder, you had to be dispensational, and so it's like, I tried. That wasn't going to go anywhere, but I thought it was worth seeing, and so it's like, well, we'll just move. We'll figure it out. Start a Bible study, and I did start meeting and connecting with other pastors, and that was really great. Southern Baptist pastor named Bobby Pell.
Okay.
Just a tremendous help to me. He was the director of church planning for the SBC for the state. He's got a lot of experience and wisdom on that, and he was just a huge blessing to me and a good friend and mentor from the time we got there. There's another church on the far west side of town called Westwood, and they're General Baptist. I don't know if you know what General Baptist is.
I don't know.
It's not a big thing. Arminian to the core. But this church, the elders back in the 90s, they got a hold of some R.C. Sproul tapes. And so then they hired a guy from RTS, and this church is like really rock solid, biblically reformed, and clear on the other side of town. And so they were a help, and they had me come and preach. They invited people to come. You know,
Wait, how does that work? So they're Arminian in their soteriology,
denominationally, but it's independent, just like
they're independent. So are they more like doctrines of grace kind of?
Very much, yeah.
Okay.
Like they really like the idea of our position on baptism. We have freedom on time and mode of baptism.
Okay.
And they're like, yeah, we want to be able to welcome. We have Presbyterians in our church. You know, we want to be able to.
Okay.
Not require rebaptism, and so they made those changes. Then they've since they're no longer affiliated with that denomination. They're just sort of like waiting. Like they had some old people in the church.
Yeah. So was that a church that kind of helped you out? Is that why you mentioned them? Or
yeah, they were
Westwood?
just friends,
Okay.
friends. And so Evansville, it's river town, so it's a sprawl along the river, right?
I get it.
And so it's not a big city. But the metro population is 350,000. But it serves 1.5 million people because it's like the city in this
hub,
tri-state area. It's just, it's a hub. It's a regional hub, right, for medical and for industry and for all that sort of stuff. And so it serves 1.5 million people, even though it's not a big city. And so they're a clear 35, 40 minutes on the other side of town from where we're at. But they got people coming all the way across town and they're like, hey, if you live on that side of town and you're interested in this church plant, like they had me come preach, and they invited anybody in their church that wanted to be a part of what we're doing.
Oh, wow.
Super open-handed, really sweet. And they've been great friends to us, too. And so just want to see good churches and see people win and see the kingdom of God built. And we just found a handful of pastors and friends like that, the connections to the YMCA. In 2020, in the middle of COVID, the YMCA in Evansville was like, they doubled down on their Christian roots. Like, everybody's becoming the Y. We're going to be sure that we keep the C in YMCA. They hired a director of Christian mission who was a former Southern Baptist church planter that's his job.
Wow.
We're going to be explicitly Christian in all that we do. And we want to partner with churches. We're developing a pastor's fellowship program type thing where we offer services to pastors. We offer discounts to pastors and their families. We send them on retreats. We want to partner with churches that are doing good things and, use. Yeah. And so,
it's good though. The Y in my area, in my district, is we had a big thing where they were encouraging the biological male to walk around in the locker room, with minor girls essentially. Yeah. And they went, well, that's the law in Michigan, and we abide by it, and we actually encourage diversity. And we went, you have a C in the C is the Christian,
Yeah. Not our Y.
So I'm glad.
And so if you like,
it's good.
I mean, they've been awesome, and it has been a partnership. And they have, they tried to start a spiritual wellness class where I would just have the ability to evangelize members. Yeah. They invite us to come, like they do summer camps. They invite us to come and sort of use it almost like a VBS. Yeah. We have a verse of the month that we put, like we have all our stuff. We have like a table with Bibles and books that we give away. Like our events are on the monitors. We have posters in there. We get sent out in the newsletter inviting people to church, all that sort of thing. They cleared out a whole big closet space so we could store stuff on site for our service. Cool. And it's cheap. And so they've been really great to us.
All right, so as we wrap this up, tell us what the last year has been, and what do you got coming in the next year or two? What's the vision or the future? Where do you think you're headed?
The last year has been,
because now you're into this 4 or 5 year fun experiment,
and we're about to leave the Y.
Okay,
awesome. So it's.
Are you looking at property or?
So
are you going somewhere else?
So there's a church in a really great location of about 30 people. This church, it's landlocked by the private Christian high school and the private Christian elementary school. In a great location near the expressway and the interstate. And it's an older church. It's a 175-year-old church, but the building's a little bit newer than that. And 30 people, and they have just decided they want to use their building to be a blessing to the community. The school comes in for chapel. Sex Addicts Anonymous meets there. The Veterans Ministry meets there. A ministry called The Foundry meets there. And I got connected with the pastor, and he's like, we want you to come and just start having services here for free.
That's awesome.
And so we're working that out. And we're launching a weekly men's ministry called Taking Ground in September that's going to meet there. And then we're hoping and praying that we'll be able to move in and start having services by Advent.
Okay.
And so
a lot of work coming up here.
A lot of work coming up.
We're
looking to, do some revamping of the sanctuary space and stuff like that. We're going to have to raise some money for that. We'd been basically at our limit in the YMCA in terms of we only had a 4-hour block on Sunday morning that we could use and limited space. And so this is going to give us a lot more freedom, hopefully to grow and plant a flag. And
so that's the season right now, focusing on that. Does that mean kind of the creative stuff takes a back seat?
Creative stuff has taken a back seat for years.
Okay, for years. Makes sense.
I'm no longer a part of Warhorn. I resigned a couple years ago.
Right. I just meant personally.
Oh, personally?
I'm always interested in
all my creative energy is focused on our church now.
There you go. Okay, that's what I was getting at.
It needs to be. And, I'm trying to walk the line of being faithful to use my gifts where they're most needed, but really our church, we need to establish our elders. We need to establish some strength and health.
Yeah.
And, we've had some people leave and had some difficult things happen. And so stability and strength and health of our church is just the most important thing
most
right
important.
Now. And so that's where the focus is and has been.
Great story. I'm sure we could go on for another couple hours with everything you've been through, but we'll wrap it up here. Where can people find the church, get a hold of you if they want to follow anything you're doing, shout it out there. And guys, if you're watching or listening, you can just click below. It's going to be linked up so you can click right through and find it. But COTKEvansville.com. You just find everything that we do. We've got to listen to sermons, got a YouTube channel. The men's ministry stuff will be up there. Yeah.
And find me on Twitter. I don't tweet or do social media very much, but I'm there. So
okay.
And anybody can feel free to connect. It's not hard to find my phone number or email address. So
cool. Jake, thanks for sitting down with us.
Yeah, man, it's good talking.
And it was so cool that we had that kind of unique connection, and I randomly found that out halfway through the conference. Obviously, guys, we're here at the Blue Collar Confessional Conference.
We didn't talk about anything that we talked about there.
No, that's okay.
That's good.
I just want to sit down with people and we talk about interesting things. I think that journey of, like I said, from building things creative and then planning a church, I'm always interested in, because people don't realize how much, not only is it like mentally, spiritually, physically draining, there's so much focus that has to go in on it.
I had no idea. It's
crazy.
Of everything
people just
that
think,
I've been
you just get a building and people start coming, and it's like, dude, I would rather build a business than plant a church. I would find that easier. I've done a few of those,
Far and away the biggest challenge of my life.
Yeah.
And but it's been great.
But we need men doing that.
Yeah.
Right? We need men out there doing that to the call of planting and reaching communities. So I really appreciate you doing that. Yeah. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of Dead Men Walking Podcast. I think we have a few more interviews coming for you. We'll try to put them in order, and we'll mash them all up. But remember, at the end of the day, the chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. God bless. Be sure to check us out at DMWpodcast.com, where you can purchase the best and snarkiest merch on the internet, support the show, and leave us a review or message. Dead Men Walking can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Dead Men Walking Podcast, and on Twitter X at Real DMW Podcast. The Dead Men Walking Podcast is part of the Fight Laugh Feast Network. For exclusive show content, be sure to download the PubTV app and become a member. If you're a business that needs to reach hundreds of thousands of potential customers in your demographic, podcast advertising might be for you. Send all inquiries to deadmenwalkingpodcast@gmail.com.
None your biscuits.